Well, Dr. Chris Lemmon here, and this is my little introductory talk to go along with the August blog. Uh, you know, I've been doing talks and workshops on the coming crisis and the evolutionary change and blah, 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 and the meme. And now we're in the thick of it. And, it's always, to me, like any other project, you get your head around it and you think you've got it all figured out. And then when you get into it, there's always little surprises. Being prepared most certainly makes a difference, but most certainly there's always surprises in it, and uh, eons ago when I first had a vision of all this stuff coming down when I was a kid, I thought it was kind of a war. And I think I mentioned that before. And, to some respects, it looks like a war. But as things developed a few years ago, I started seeing that it was going to be, at least initially, a health crisis and see where that's going to take everything. I never had any idea that it would be such an isolation thing. And the biggest dilemma that I see that was a surprise for me is the nature of isolation. Works out okay in my life because I had just a few years ago retired and I was kind of stepping down from a lot of the things that I was doing, not as many counseling. I'm kind of hard to get hold of. It seemed really kind of the nature of things. I'm tied up in projects. My wife's got musical projects. She's an artist. And so we're busy in our own forthright. And so it's not like all of a sudden I've lost connection with family or somewhere, somebody, something. I do a lot of traveling and I've still managed to do a little bit of traveling, not as much as I would have liked to. I got shut out of a few countries that I had planned trips to go to, but there was no problem recouping the investment of the planned trip, and that was not an issue. And we'll see what materializes. But I don't really personally see this coming to an end just that quickly because there's a lot of digesting of change that needs to come into play. All the old concepts, although we may. And I see an awful lot of people saying we really need to bring back the old value system, the old, but it is not going to happen. It's just kind of like saying you wish you had your teddy bear back. It's like I didn't have a teddy bear, I had an elephant, but whatever. You got the point of it. When I was 2 or 3, I was around holding onto the elephant's nose and sucking my thumb. And no, I don't want the elephant back. I don't want any of those things that I secured into in the past back. I really don't. My whole focus has always been moving forward, but you embrace change and you embrace new ideas, and it always sounds really exciting, but it's sometimes easy and sometimes not so easy. And this one's been really tough on everybody around. Personally, I didn't feel infringed upon or any of the above. I don't like some of the censorship I see. I understand their fear. They're trying to fix a problem that necessarily is just a state of change, and that's just the way it is. So I try to not engage in any of that drama that goes on or all the other things. And I'm advocating that you guys listen to whoever you want to, but don't take up a flag and don't start to get behind something, because I really think this is not a question of drawing a line in the sand and fighting over some concepts or ideas. I think it's just a crazy flux of change, and it's hard to get your bearing in change. We've all seen that. We moved to new places. We've had changes. We've gone throughout mostly ending relationships are really kind of turbulent. People that got along really good and now all of a sudden they're enemies, or they're fighting over, who gets an electric toothbrush, or it's just this craziness that comes along with that separation and that change and the diversity. And that's what we're really getting into. I think in my blog, I mentioned something about The Lonely Planet. It's a book I picked up on reading because I wanted to see just how much was going on, because I don't get that link. I've never owned a TV in my life, so I don't get the news, and I'm on a computer a little bit, just answering emails and stuff. My my phone is turned off. I just got it. I got to plug it in and charge it to make a phone call, for heaven's sakes, most of the time, because I don't use it, but maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So other than these videos, I'm pretty much really not on the internet any way, shape, or form. I'm not part of anything, right? I'm not part of some social media. I'm not part of any of that kind of stuff. I pretty much read. I do a lot of reading. I read several books a week. And so I kind of go through ideas, concepts, and I do in my blogs every now and then toss out an idea. Some people like to read. And so I figure, you know, if this is a shock to you, how polarization can all of a sudden feel like you've been isolated and pushed aside, especially millennials that have not had a lot of life experience because of the way they were brought up in front of a television and not as much interaction. I'm generalizing, so if your upbringing was not that way, I apologize, but that's what I'm seeing. Turnover rate and the ability to find utility, value in the things they do in life is really tough. They're brilliant people, most certainly, but there's an adjustment piece, and they're in really the thick of us. As old timers, it's not a big deal. It's just another storm to weather, and we're not looking at oh my goodness, what am I going to do in the future? My future's pretty grim. I'm just kind of looking at what I'm going to put on my tombstone in a few years, and trying to remember to keep it short because it costs so much per letter. And that, like everything else, could go up. We could even become short of granite. I might have to have, something made of plastic. I have no idea. So I'm going to keep this blog relatively short. I just put this August thing in coming out of July because I said, okay, we're going to turn around. We're going to start to look into the very nature of range. And before I get into those processes and things, I thought that I would put out a caution saying that we're not working range in this crisis. This is not an element of range. This is an element of polarization. This is an element of people looking at taking sides. That's what it is. So it has no foundation in the work we're going to do. It doesn't integrate into it in any way, shape, or form. So you're feeling this push, you're feeling this pulling aside, you're feeling this loneliness, you're feeling this isolation. That is the nature of what change does. You move to a new neighborhood, you don't know anybody, you feel alone and isolated, and you go out and try to make friends. Well, right now, making new friends and relatives is a little challenging because I have, people that talk to me, email me and have conversations with me, but don't want me to go over to their house because, heaven forbid, I travel a lot and I might bring some disease to them, or whatever's popular in the moment. So those are the things, the fears and the apprehensions that we start to see from the polarization, right? So this was designed to be able to make a pause, make a break, I think, to be able to say, okay, everybody, take a breath. We're going to change this whole way things operate. So get over it and let's start moving forward. Nobody can tell us what it's going to look like because nobody knows anything. I think that should be pretty obvious, right? Right now, I don't even watch the news and I think it's pretty obvious. So they're all trying to deal with an unknown, and we are trying to deal with an unknown. Get out of their dilemma and stick to yours. What are you going to do as you move forward? Start to make a list for yourself. But what do you want to do? I don't think a month goes by where I don't look around and think, wow, if I had to go back to work, what would I do? But it'd have to be something different. I don't want to do something I've done before. But I've done so many different jobs. It's like, wow, because every time I wanted to do something different, I never went back to a job I had before. So I had a profession that was there, but it didn't fill my time in, So it's like, I'm used to, 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week. That's my norm. I like to do things, right? I'm not much of a sit-around person. Obviously, if I don't own a TV and don't do any texting or any of that kind of stuff, I'm obviously busy in some other type of project. I don't have any idle time. And so that's what I'm looking at. It's like I'm always looking at what am I going to do next, right? But what ideas can I come up with? What projects can I get involved in? What would be interesting for me? What would be intriguing? I don't run out and do them right now because it takes sometimes a couple of months to get all the raw material together to do a project right now. It's really tough with the supply and demand. But I do have notes. I just got note sheets all over the place. And I've got notes down and I put headings on it. And I said, hey, possible jobs, I should look into this. It'd be kind of fun to work a couple of days a week and get a little routine going in this marketplace. I have a lot of skills. So it's like, yeah. And then I look back at it and said, really at, 77 years old, I wouldn't anybody hire me anyhow. And do I really want to do that? But it's like, for me, it's an easier way to get energy rather than play a game. When am I going to go play badminton? Rather than engage in a game of some sort, I'd much rather work, right? I've got a few neighbors that got projects and I told them I'd help them this summer, but this summer has been a little on the warm side and I don't see them doing any work yet. So, and I have chit-chatted with a little bit in there telling me, well, it looks like lumber's up and there's a shortage of supplies and maybe I'll put everything off to this next summer. And okay, whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not about me. It's just about a process. Start to look at how you're going to fold into. We don't know what it's going to be. So how are you going to fold into anything you can imagine? Take what you can imagine and start to say, how would I fold into that? What if it went this way? What if it went that way? What if it unfolded a certain sort of way, right? I mean, I've already downsized. I'm in a 2-bedroom house. I don't need to get a smaller place. I don't need to, I've already kind of geared myself up for all of these. And I know a lot of you out there have too. And so I'm just trying to think, well, how am I going to travel? How am I going to be able to kind of explore the world? Will be kind of interesting. I got to see what countries open up. I have more ideas than probably have time. So I'm just collecting more ideas and more papers and more. It's really easy just to throw these away. I actually take scrap paper and fold it in two and use the backside of it. So, so that's the nature. So we're just starting to, we're going into August and we're just starting to kind of play with. Notice that this change is not about you. It's about the whole globe. It's all people. It's all about people. But we're trying to arrive at something else. I'm making a wild guess and think it's to get more globalized, more awareness of everything. Most certainly all this digging around with this crisis that we're in the middle of is giving us a lot more awareness of other people and how they're handling the problem and what that country is doing and what this country is doing. I look at this and I think, wow, this is not a bad setup for arriving at that goal. Not the way I would like to have done it, but most certainly it's kind of getting the job done. It's starting to get some changes. It's just going to end real soon. No, I don't really think so. I think it's going to run a little while, that's my prediction, but I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I'm not advocating anything about the pandemic or any of that, but I'm just talking about the nature of change. I think it's going to run a little while. It may look a little different next year or the year after that, but most certainly I think that by the feel of it, it feels to me like it's got a little momentum and it's going to be going on for a little while. So that's the nature of what I think is happening. And once again, like I said, I'm going to cut this short. Well, just an introduction to the August blog. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me. That's chris@wizardscatch.com, WIZARDSCACHE, with any of your questions. And I'm back home again for a few weeks. I just came back from Taos, New Mexico, so I'm around doing questions. So thank you very much for your time, and make yourself some lists. Figure out what's going to happen when you grow up through this whole mess. All right? Take care. Bye.